All right, so here we are for another edition of Office Hours with Attorney Benjamin Krause. That is me. I am going to provide some answers to questions veterans have raised in our group. I am, just for your awareness, I am on the road. So let's see here. I'm going to add this click to clipboard. Just give me a second. I'm going to do some orientation for people watching this, just in case you want to connect and ask a question. You need to put in okay, I see how it is. So basically you need to click on that link, and then I can see your comment or question. For those of you who have not attended on this before, note that sometimes I can't see it if you are commenting on LinkedIn or some other platforms like Twitter. I may not be able to see it, so I just want you to be aware. And I am not in my office. I am elsewhere. So my background may look a little different. It's because it's definitely different. So anyway, let me add people here within our Facebook group, and then we'll get started. Give me another minute to refresh the screen. Move all this stuff around. Okay. And we will get started here. Uno momento. There it is. Okay, good. So we're live. We're going to do at everyone. We are live in the VR&E Facebook group. Ask questions here. All right. So good. We'll see a few people probably turn up here in a second. So while you're watching this, think about and make a point to ask your questions. I'm going to answer them as best I can. The answer or question, I should say, that came to mind that I wanted to address is going to be related to wait times. So veterans are experiencing challenges in getting VRE to address their claims in a timely manner. So we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about out-of-state tuition, and we're going to talk about changing residency. That's important for, again, that group that may change residency. And then the other we're going to talk about is kind of a funny one, which is how to talk to your counselor without coming up like a know-it-all. And I had been thinking about this topic recently because there's a lot of VRCs that do not like, first of all, they don't like veterans. Secondly, they definitely don't like veterans that know more than they do about their benefits, the program they're supposed to be administering. So you got to remember the VREs are the VRCs, so it's a vocational rehabilitation counselor, are trained in rehabilitation counseling. They have a master's degree, likely a certification or two, and they don't like being told by veterans what they're supposed to be doing and whether or not they're doing it wrong. So we're going to talk about that because I think it's super important. And hang on a second, I want to double check here. Okay. So if everyone can hear me, I'm assuming you can because I'm not using any of my fancy equipment today. This is just a laptop, so should not be a big deal. So we're going to talk about wait times. So the big issue that veterans are facing right now is they are not getting timely access to their VR counselor. Okay. So the question is, why is this happening? Well, it seems reasonable. We are spending in the past 5 years. Okay, American taxpayers have paid the VA $1 trillion in taxpayer money. Right, 1 trillion. I'm going to say trillion. $1 trillion. Wow, it's incredible. So we've given this agency $1 trillion. I'm going to say it again: $1 trillion. In the past 5 years. Does the VA behave like an agency that has received $1 trillion in the past 5 years? I can't even wrap my head around it. Like, it's incredible. Like, at this point, it's like a huge slush fund for special interest groups and favored contractors and favored nonprofits and the chosen few that keep the gravy train growing, going for the defense industry and everyone else that makes money that way. So why are veterans experiencing wait times with all this money that seems to be flowing into the VA, and then of course it's going right back out the back door at VA to contractors that are chosen, for various reasons that I won't speculate about here for the purpose of this video. So what's happening? So basically, the gist of VR&E right now. So VR&E right now is they are incredibly understaffed, so they don't have a lot of money, which doesn't make sense, right? You're like, what do you mean? Not a lot. I mean, I thought that you just said the VA has received $1 trillion in the past 5 years. Well, most of that money, like programs like VR&E as an example, have not received a reciprocal amount of funding increases. So it's remained largely static, which is shameful, given the high level of increased disabled veterans and disabled veterans processing that we've seen, and yet VR&E has not really grown in a way that is here. I'm going to go down here because I'm just sitting on the floor. Yeah, guys. I'm an attorney who's sitting on the floor wearing normal duds. That's just kind of how I roll, and I am a hardcore carnivore. So there you go. Hat bought in Oklahoma. So why is there the delay? Because the powers that be have elected to not grow veteran readiness and employment. Okay, so they've chosen not to grow it in a way that is consistent with the needs of veterans. And instead, what they've done is they've tried to augment the services or the things that the VRCs are supposed to do. Instead of hiring the amount of people that are needed, they've decided to burn up a lot of money on different software systems. I believe they're going on their third try to do this. The first try, they wasted $12 million on a system that never really worked, I guess. And that was supposed to be the silver bullet. I always see these silver bullets. They trot it out before Congress. There's always like new people there, and they're like, ooh, this is going to be the silver bullet. It never seems to work out because it's a tech fix, and the money just is basically an excuse, in my opinion, to just do favors for the other generals that are running the defense contracting companies. But that's just my take on it. It just never seems to get fixed. Again, $1 trillion in 5 years, and VA is still broken. I just don't know. At that point, you're like, broken on purpose? I don't know. So anyway, so going back to the wait times. So there are wait times. I've been hearing stories of wait times up to 7 months, which is unacceptable. And if that were me, I would put in a complaint at the VA hotline. Now, some of you may not know that the old White House hotline, it was never really the White House hotline. It was always really just a dubbed White House hotline. It was a VA hotline that was run by VA employees. And it's, anyway, they've renamed it. Now it's just because the White House doesn't care about you. Come on. They don't care. They don't care about us. They don't care about you. They don't care about me. When it comes to the VA, get in, get your benefits, get out. They're not your pal. They're not your buddy. They're there to fit a political agenda, and it is not about you. Anyway. So somebody asked, what is the VA hotline number? I don't know. I don't remember. Just Google it. Google it. Put it into a search, a browser of your choice, and do a search for it. It'll show up. I don't know what it is offhand, but they basically just turned it back in, on itself. So it's just a VA hotline. So it's I don't know. It's supposedly going to help still, but I kind of wonder about that. I think I think that we had a little glimmer of hope where there was some sunshine being kind of shined into these issues after 2014. And Robert McDonald, who I still think is probably the best and most competent VA secretary we had ever seen, was screwed out of the position after the Trump administration took over. And there was some duplicitous movement behind the scenes, and it resulted in David Shulkin taking over as the first non-veteran VA secretary, which I still think is a stupid move, but okay. Anyway, it's like a credential. I think that it'd be like hiring, I don't know, the head of the DoD and have them not be ever serve or be a general. Yeah, they could be competent, but I mean, if you don't know anything about the military, then I don't know. I mean, you could. It's just one of those things. So I guess the question is, going back to it, why is there a wait time? The funding is not there. They haven't grown the funding for the program, which is really the fault of the program, right? They're towing the line for whatever the administration wants, and the administration, whether it's a Republican or a Democrat, has not really moved the needle on services for disabled veterans to become vocationally rehabilitated, right? Meaning that you overcome the effects of your vocational impairment, which is the result of your service-connected disabilities, and you gain and maintain suitable employment, usually after training of some kind. Not always, but usually. And so people are like, well, why is there a wait time? Because they've chosen to have a wait time. They have infinite money, for Pete's sake, $1 trillion in 5 years. The money's there. It's just not given to VR&E, And so we still have VRCs. I see one veteran here. I wish I knew who it was. I can't see your name. So maybe if you click on the link in the comments section, I could see it. So I'd love to just speak to you directly. Hang on a second. I'm going to see if I can figure out who you are. So, boom. Okay, so this is... Oh, okay. Hi, Sidebuster. All right, I love that name. So Sidebuster writes in crickets, and he's talking about delays. I think it's the same person. I hope it is. That's kind of a hoot. Yeah, crickets. I get you, man. So yeah, they. So when there's a delay, I think I want to make sure that this is valuable, right? Because we're looking at it and okay, well, what do I do? So when there is a delay, what do we do? What exactly is the fix here? Because at the end of the day, the delays are going to be there. You're going to have a wait time. Okay. In many instances, not always, but in many instances. So what do? You document it, you put it in writing. That's what I do as an attorney for my clients all the time. If it gets to be where it's a chronic problem, then I will send emails every couple days to chronicle the problem. And after the email, I will put in the subject line the instance or the times that I am trying to reach you. So if it's sixth attempt, I will put that in the email subject line in brackets after the subject. So somebody can see, oh, this is the sixth attempt. Whoops. I better get to it because that'll look stupid if it goes to my boss, right? They are supposed to contact you back in 48 days, or 48 hours, rather. That's considered reasonable for VA. And again, they get tons of money. This program gets about 1.8 trillion, give or take, or $1 billion. That's a lot, right? There's 1,000 VR employees, about maybe 1,200. So that's a fair amount. And they have these incredible systems that they keep buying to try to fix the issues. And it's well, hire more people. Don't sandbag your counselors with more than 125 veterans. Stop doing it. It's kind of like talking to a toddler. Stop it! Don't do that! But they do it anyway. And you turn around and they come back and they do it anyway. I mean, it's just like you're dealing with toddlers at the VA. I mean, that's just what it is. I don't care whether it's the top or the bottom. There's some good people in there, but there's a lot of toddlers floating around that are getting great paychecks and great benefits and health care, not at the VA. No, they don't get the VA care. They get other care. So anyway, 48 hours, okay? They're supposed to get back to you. What if they don't? Well, I would wait a week. then I would send them an email. Unless it's an emergency, then I would send them an email every day, and then do what I suggested in the subject line and go, whatever the subject is, and then in brackets, second attempt, third attempt, or second email, third email, fourth email, something like that. And that's how I would handle it. And then what else? So you can go to the VA hotline. That's an option. You can go to your elected officials. I've got a mixed bag as far as that goes, because depending on the official, depending on the political party, sometimes, but not always, they just won't get it done. Usually what will happen is they will write in. VA will give them kind of the sandbag to answer, veteran dumb, and then they'll respond, oh, the VA says you're dumb. Sorry, dummy. You know, we trust whatever the VA says because the VA doesn't lie, especially these voc rehab counselors, right? So we all know that's a lie too, but it is what it is. So that's my feedback on the wait times. Again, I'm not in my office, and maybe I'm a little crabby because I was driving yesterday, last night. So my demeanor on this office hours may be a little bit salty. Anyway, I'm going to get to the people that had questions, and then I'm going to wrap it up unless somebody has any burning questions to add. So if you're watching this, I can only see your comments in our Facebook group and on YouTube, and otherwise I can't see it. So just food for thought. So we're going to go here to Rosa Gomez. She asks about processing times. This is what I was talking about. Why is it taking so long? Well, the answer is they don't want to hire enough counselors to handle the client load. It doesn't matter how much money we hand the VA, they just won't do it. Instead, they want to rely on computer solutions, AI-driven solutions, and really what that is it's an anti-human policy. They don't want to hire people. They want to pay a boatload of money to computers that they have to constantly pay to upgrade that won't work, rather than hire people. So that's their move. That's their answer. And they're going to keep doing it. They've been doing it. Congress hasn't stopped them from doing it. Do they want to roll out the new V4NG, I think it is, or T4NG contract? It was $20 billion a few years back in 2016-ish. And the new version, they call it Generation 2, that's $60 billion. Okay, because they did such a great job, these contractors, And really what happened is they awarded these contracts to a lot of veteran-owned companies that got gobbled up by the conglomerates, and now it's just the conglomerates. And so that's the game. So when they have these veteran contracts that go to veteran-owned businesses and service still veteran-owned, blah, 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 they get the contract, and then they sell the business to Booz Allen Hamilton or Accenture or something like that. Lockheed Martin, Leidos, any of these other companies. That SIAC, that's kind of the game. So it appears that they're helping veterans, and they are kind of, but then they give the money to a contractor that's just one part of the military-industrial complex. So that's why, because the VA doesn't exist for you, it exists for other people, even though you think it's for you, but it's not. It's for contractors, and it's for the employees and the union and then the vote for the political party that's supported. That is really, I think, what it's about. And it just happens that, so somebody asked a question. Hi, Ben, is there a policy that stipulates an age limit on a veteran when applying for VRE? There is not. You have to be basically feasible for a vocational goal. If you find, are found to have an employment handicap, serious employment handicap, depending on your circumstance, you have to be able to reach a vocational goal. So that's the age requirement. But I wouldn't say, thanks, David. Appreciate you, bud. The Sidebuster thing is great. Okay. All right. I understand. I'll look for your email. Okay. But yeah, I appreciate I'll have somebody from my team take a look after I get off the phone or after I get off this call. So let's see here. So yeah, that was a question. Why is it taking so long? That's why. Why do they not reply to the emails? Because they have too many clients, right? At the end of the day, they're engaged in malpractice or negligence because they have too many clients and they can't manage the client load. and VA does not care about you, because ultimately it should be about you. You're the one that is suffering, and any of these deficiencies is certainly not for a lack of money, because God knows they're paying these contractors a lot to do a little, in my opinion. Or to break things and not make things work. They seem to be always just so reliant on Booz Allen Hamilton as an example, and yet we don't see, as veterans, really the benefit of their work. But we do see them get a lot of contracts. My God, they are getting money, getting paid. Joshua Jacobs, the head of the VBA, was a contractor for Booz Allen Hamilton, none other than, before he then came back into VBA. And then, wouldn't you know, right around that same time, Booz Allen Hamilton got awarded a $1 billion contract to work on Veteran Benefits Administration computer systems. Woo! Good for you. Yay. Is that going to help veterans? Probably not. Probably not. All right. So, will VR&E pay out-of-state tuition? Yes. They pay for private schools. They'll pay for out-of-state tuition. Even if you move to the school, Colorado, so this veteran writes in about they're an Alaska resident, but the school they're going to go to is in Colorado. And the question is, do I have to give up my Alaska residency to go to school in Colorado? Usually the answer is no, because you're going for school. And so it's been kind of like when you're in the military too, where you don't need to change your residency if you don't want to, from your home state to the state that you're stationed in. I believe that was the case, at least when I was in. I hope it was, because that's what I did. Anyway, so when it comes to school, usually if you're attending for school and that's why you move, that type of move is usually not sufficient to warrant changing your residency, unless you want to. But if you don't want to, then I don't believe you have to. And I know with Alaska, they pay a little money to be an Alaska resident, so maybe that's the incentive to keep it. But anyway, so that's my feedback there. And they do pay. I mean, they'll pay for you to go to Harvard. So I'm sure they'd pay for you to go to a state school in Colorado, probably Boulder or something, I know that it's not cheap for out of state. But anyway, so I hope that helps. Parking passes. VRE used to pay for parking passes, and they still might under certain, set criteria. But that may not be always the case, okay? So just food for thought. Let's see here. Any advice, VRE? Coming off like a know-it-all. This was kind of a fun one. So how do you not come off like a know-it-all when you're talking to your VR&E about the private? Okay, so this is regarding private pilot's license, and so how do you not come off like a know-it-all? So what I would do in this instance is I would pull like a Jesus move on them, right? So instead of, kind of getting all fact-checky on the counselor, maybe instead ask them a lot of questions that kind of lead into your answer, and ask them to explain it, And so in other words, they could say, well, we don't do that. Okay. Oh, okay. Well, how do you do such and such? And they'll say, well, we don't do that. Well, okay. So that I understand, and I can be on notice of your rationale, right? Because they have to give you notice. Then ask to review the regulations that are governing with them, and hopefully, as long as you do that in a gracious manner, they may look at it and be like, huh. But odds are, what's probably going on is not so much that they don't understand, is that maybe they have a unspoken well, definitely spoken, but like an unwritten policy in that office to not approve veterans for that type of training. And that could be what you're seeing. It may not be, but it might be. I've seen that quite a bit in other situations where they had a problem with local policies back in 2019 and earlier, where it required the executive director then to issue a policy that prevents local offices from creating local policies that contradict VA policies and VA laws at central office, because they were doing it. And so they had everybody turn in their policies. So I thought that was kind of a hoot. And, so it was a pretty big problem because they were just going rogue and they were breaking the law in their local offices and screwing veterans out of their rights, out of their benefits without accountability, and nobody could figure out why they were making those decisions. So anyway, so that's my 2 cents there. And then otherwise, yeah, it's just kind of a slow day here. I know there's a lot of really kind of sad news and things going on in the media that are definitely front and center for a lot of people. So all I can say is, if you're watching this, Malcolm Sims, are we able to meet with you? Uh, so yeah, I mean, I meet with veterans all the time. It depends on what you want the meeting to be about, but if you have a legal question, my law firm website's right there, benjaminkrauselaw.com. My blog, which, I mean, don't go ask a legal question in my blog. That's just my blog, disabledveterans.org. So that's where I publish news updates and policy information and the results of like FOIA audits and things like that I do. So, but yeah, if you have like a legal question, probably the better way to get a hold of me or my team is to go to Benjamin Kraus Law and put in a request for information from that website is probably the best way. But yeah, aside from that, so if you're still watching this, you're wondering, who the hell is this guy? So my name is Ben Kraus. I should have introduced all and done all that. But I'm a disabled vet. Been out of the military for 20 years. VRE paid for my undergrad and VRE paid for my law degree and helped with my startup costs related to my law firm. And so I've been writing about and advocating for veterans for well over a decade. And so I just help veterans. A big chunk of what I do deals with VR&E because that's what I know. I wrote a book about it, and I represent veterans regularly when they're denied benefits for becoming doctors, lawyers, business executives, psychologists, anything that really requires a doctorate. The big buck programs that VRE regularly denies without thinking twice about it, and then veterans hire me to help with those appeals because if you've been in your first year of law school, you may be studying to be a lawyer, but you're pretty busy, and tangling with VA to fight with them over whether they're going to pay for it can be a full-time job in and of itself. And so that's why veterans hire me to do it. So that's a big part of what I do. And then otherwise I do a lot of FOIAs under my publishing company and press news media company, which is called Armo Press LLC. And that's where we publish, I do FOIAs. Right now we're working on disruptive behavior committees and understanding that better. And so I'll probably be creating courses and other stuff to help educate veterans about their rights related to healthcare, because that's an area where we're just not seeing a lot. Attorneys will not usually get involved unless it's a med mal case, but otherwise there's really no way to get paid for your work. And if you're like me and you're a solo attorney, if you're not getting paid for your work, your kids aren't going to get fed. So that just does not work out, The VSOs don't really get involved in healthcare stuff. They only focus on disability compensation. And I can tell you part of the reason is most likely because that is where they get money from the Fed to file claims for you, which is a thing that a lot of people don't know. So everyone wants to think that VSOs are altruistic, but they focus on where they're getting paid too. They just, try to claim that it's free for veterans, but really it's not, because you're not getting the full amount of your benefits in many instances. And when you look at what a VSO files on their claims, most of the time, not always, the ones that I've read, it's just bullet points. Not a whole lot there. It's not what I would do as an attorney. So, but anyway, point is, and not to bemoan VSOs. There are a lot of great VSOs. I've talked to them, and some of them are very knowledgeable. Most are not attorneys, so they're not trained that way, and they don't think like an attorney most of the time. But but there's a need for VSOs. I have a concern whenever somebody tries to tell me that a VSO can do the same type of job as me, which is, other than why did I go to school for 7 years? Why did I pass the bar if I didn't need it? It's like a doctor, oh, well, a nurse can do what a doctor can do. No, they can't. It's called MD. You got a medical doctorate, right? Different. Anyway, so somebody asked a question. I'm currently in college and have not been employed in 6 months since my retirement. Okay. I'm working on my bachelor degree and would look to VR&E to pay for it. Yeah, do it, man. I see nothing in what you wrote there that leads me to believe that you shouldn't that you shouldn't hang on a second. Shoot, something moved. There we go. I see nothing in this that leads me to believe that you should not apply. Okay, just so you're aware. I would say yeah, apply. So yeah, apply. Do it, man. Do it, or woman. Who are you? I don't know who you are. Jeremy Holm. Hey, buddy. So yeah, apply. And then let's see who else. I downloaded VRE Survival Guide. Going okay. In the process of filling out the 1902W. Okay, so Jeremy, when you're filling out the 1902W, it's important, obviously, to be transparent. So speak factually. I would put down the vocational goal that you want, and also include the type of training you think might get you there. Put that on the 1902W. And then, aside from that, make absolutely sure that you explain your disabilities and how they affect you related to work. And if you need more space than that form, it's ridiculous. They've refused to provide, I think, adequate instructions for that form. I've bugged them about that in VA, because that form will be used against you if you write something down on it that doesn't make sense, or you don't spend a lot of time on it. And a lot of veterans don't, and they forget stuff, so they don't double check, or there's errors, or it's just not clear. It could be used against you. So make sure, if you run out of space, attach a Word document to it. Real simple. Explain it, but be succinct. Don't run on like a tangent and write a 10-page novel or novella. So that's kind of my 2 cents there. So basically, here's that question. So just be careful to explain it. Focus on the service-connected disabilities, but also address your non-service-connected disabilities and how they all affect you related to work in a suitable occupation. Suitable occupation is defined as consistent with your aptitudes, abilities, and interests. It doesn't aggravate your disabilities, or at least, to the extent feasible. I think, even as an attorney, my disabilities are aggravated regularly, but it's the best job for me, and certainly a better job than, like, even right now, my leg is numb. So, okay. All right. So I had to move, change positions here. So I have so John says, ooh, I like that name. John says, this is on YouTube, being bounced from TDIU to scheduler, get confusing. Okay. Can you talk about what happens if you're both TDIU and scheduler? My PTSD is, cool, microimmunology, great. Before physical injuries caught up with me. So question being, I'm assuming that what you're kind of wondering is, can you work in this context? So the VA should be able, as long as they're aware of what's going on, they should adjust it. But if you're a regular scheduler, then who cares, right? They're not going to take anything from you. They should ask you if you're still, meet that criteria, TDIU. But even if you don't, you say, okay, I'm working now. Here's your notice. I have a normal job, and that's it. Whatever. They should figure it out at that point. So anyway, let's see here, and then. Okay, that was totally greenlighting moving to a MS in public health. Now I have scheduler 100% and still TDIU. Oh, I understand. Okay. Yeah, I've seen that before. if I can't say what the mechanism is inside VA to get that to change. Normally, if you're in VR&E and TDIU, VRE is supposed to send notice to VA about your usage of their program. But the VA does or doesn't want to address it. They whatever. But if you're a regular scheduler, then TDIU doesn't matter. That's so, or it shouldn't anyway. It doesn't mean they won't try to do something. But yeah, so that's my take on it here. So I'm going to end in prayer like I've been trying to do lately, because I found that to be really effective. Helps me to stay focused. And yeah, so anyway, so Lord, thank you so much for today. Thank you for the people that are on this call. Ask, Lord, that you continue to expand the program that we're talking about, which is Veteran Readiness and Employment, and help veterans that are being disadvantaged by counselors that are not performing their jobs correctly seek help and help them to understand what to do. And may you continue to expand veteran access to the benefits that Congress promised, and help more veterans become leaders in our country, because I think that our country needs more veteran leaders, not less. And we need more insight in Congress and insight in the executive branch, and help veteran leaders come out of this program in the maximum extent possible, because that's what the program is created for and to do. Maximum extent possible, maximum extent feasible, not minimum, not entry level employment, none of that stuff. So we're ready, Lord. These veterans are showing up, ready to do the next thing here to expand your kingdom, and ask, Lord, that you do it. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, folks. Well, I hope you have a great weekend, and we're in transit here, so I'm coming to you from a different spot. But otherwise, God bless. Have a great weekend, and take care.